further ado, let's start. So we're here to see how we can actually vibe code an SEO agent. And hopefully I'm going to be able to do it in around 30 minutes. But if you have ever built anything with an LLM, you probably know that things are not very deterministic. So hopefully I'm going to be able to utilize all of the techniques and strategies that I have picked up from my vibe coding experience and show you guys how you can actually control these agents so that your outputs are more aligned with what you want to see. So before I actually go into demo mode, I want to give you some intro about vibe coding. This is going to be short, not going to take a lot of time, but there are a few things that I want to highlight here. Vibe coding is an interesting new approach to how we build new software. And it can be tricky in so many ways because we're relying on all these models who are not really deterministic, who do not really have like a clear path of execution, meaning that if you prompt it with the same question, the model will probably give you a different answer. There's some certain things on how we can control that output by utilizing context, by utilizing specific guardrails where you can control what gets out from these models. But when it comes to vibe coding, sometimes we forget all of that as builders and we want to just one shot build our whatever we're building. So like I've seen a lot of people use Cursor or Lovable, and they usually say build a website that looks like Stripe and integrates with all of these tools within one prompt. Like how do we expect this agent to actually pick up that that prompt and actually build the thing without actually providing like the extra context that this agent needs? So inherently, we're really bad at communicating. And like when I describe what is vibe coding to my friends, I usually reference this video. Let me know in the comments if you have actually seen this video. But essentially, the father is asking his son to write down instructions for him on how he should make a peanut butter and jam sandwich. And the kid basically in his notes, yeah, Jonathan gets me. So like the kid actually says, put peanut butter on the bread. And like the father just takes the jar and slams it onto the bread. And like, that's what I mean by vibe coding. Like we need to be specific. And the first point here is that we need to stay in control. So how do we stay in control? By actually mapping our process before we actually prompt the model. So like instead of going, so here's how I actually visualize this. So the first path is I'm going to tell the agent to do something without actually thinking about what I want it to do. And then the end goal is the agent assuming things that I did not say it specifically. And then the second path is, what if I build a diagram of the things that I want to build? And what if I sequentially prompt the agent to execute all of these things one by one? My guess is that second scenario, it's actually going to be more reliable and that the agent is actually going to work with me to actually build these components. But both me and the agent know what's going on and what's happening. And it's so easy to revert a specific component's change versus updating a whole system that the agent actually decided to build. So that's that. The second one is, and this is funny for so many of my friends, but like I like to chat with these agents. I like to tell them, okay, here's what we're going to do. Don't assume anything else. But I'm setting the stage for you. Like, here's what we're going to be building. And I know that the team at Vellum is actively building like few different ways on how you can control whether you're talking with this agent or whether the agent should be building things. And you're going to shortly see in the demo what I mean by that. Assume nothing, just like the agent does not know what I'm trying to build here. So like I need to provide as much as context as I can, breaking it down, sequentially work with your agent to build specific components of what you're trying to build. And I know that this can be tricky because like so many people who are trying to vibe code these days, they basically think that an agent should be like a magic bullet for them. They think like, well, I cannot code this thing. I'm expecting for the agent to tell me what are the best practices or the approach that I should take here to build this agent. I feel like we're still not there and we still need to work with these agents so that we can execute on whatever we're trying to build. And finally, it's all vibes. Like, don't get mad at the models. They're not the ones to blame. Try to build a process for yourself and try to control it as much as you can. And so that's the intro to vibe coding. The danger zone is that we can create a messy sandwich. So I want you to work with me today, because like this demo is going to rely on vibes. I hope that the vibes are good. Let me know in the comments. But the Marsh's law for all demos is true. Like everything that could go wrong will go wrong. But one thing that I can promise you is that I'm not going to be yelling at the model. Okay, so now let me show you the scaffolding of what I'm going to try to build. So how many of you here, again, let me know in the comments, work in marketing and are familiar with SEO? Or maybe you don't work at marketing, but you're familiar with SEO. If you have ever touched or read something, if you've ever touched like any like tool for SEO, like Ahrefs or any other tool out there, or if you have ever thought about increasing your brand's visibility on Google search, and these days on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all of these other tools, you have faced some of this, not problems, but like approaches that your company needs to do, right? So let's say that you have identified a keyword. Oh, I see Carolyn here in the comments. Hi, Carolyn. Let's say that you have identified a keyword. The keyword is what is prompt engineered, right? The first approach that a marketer takes is this third component here, which we call gap analysis agent. For this one, we basically, like within the agent, we want the agent to look at the top results for a given keyword on Google. And then for each of those results, we want the agent to extract the content so that it can analyze what is Google ranking for this keyword versus what are some opportunities for us of gaps within that content, so that our article, if we write it for that specific keyword, we need to incorporate in order to run better than all of these links that are currently ranking well for that one. The second one here is my Twitter researcher, which actually, I think that in this demo today, I'm going to be changing it to a Reddit researcher, because in our space, it feels like Reddit, it's up and coming, and I feel like I'm going to find like the freshest data there. But what this one will do is find all of the relevant posts around my keyword, just so I can capture maybe some quotes, or maybe new trends, or maybe new approaches to how something was successful. So if we're asking about like prompt engineering, like this agent can actually retrieve a lot of like SEO optimized articles, and like those maybe are not like the most relevant or contextually relevant or timely for when I'm writing this article, but then Twitter or Reddit, they can give me that. And finally, the research agent, which is a very vague name here, but this one is gonna search the internet for supporting facts and stats that I can then incorporate in my article. And so those are the 3 steps. And again, like we can do like so many other things here. Again, like depending on your process, but the goal here is to identify what we should be writing about, how should we optimize for this keyword, how can we make our article to rank in the top 5 results, if not to be the first result for this keyword. And then we have an article generator. And then finally, we want to use another agent that will send this draft into Notion automatically. And ideally, that's going to be a magical experience for us today when we reach that step. But without further ado, I think that I'm ready to go and show you the demo. All right, so now I'm going to remove the presentation from stage.
All right, so this is the Vellum builder. Again, like this is very early preview. Things are gonna get much more simpler, but just to show you around of where we currently are. So this is the original Vellum workflow builder, where you can add different inputs and work with different nodes to scaffold and then publish different AI workflows. You're able to do that through this like drag and drop fashion, where you can define everything and you can edit all within this canvas. The interesting part is that you can also access the code for whatever you're building here. You can access the code and you can basically use your command line to pull and push different changes from your repo and into Vellum. And we have enabled so many teams to collaborate on their workflows as easily as they could. And so now we have this part right here. And so to basically show you how I would approach this is, I want to reference one of those things that I just mentioned, is that start by introducing your use case to the agent. So like I'm going to say, hi Vellum, today we're going to be building an SEO agent that does a few things based on a given keyword. We'll be working step by step. And so honestly, like this is my approach. It does increase your chances of success. A lot of people do not want to do this. Like a lot of people would actually write down like generate an SEO agent and do this and that, and like they will have like a large prompt, and like they won't actually include all of the important information that the agent needs. I actually want to spend some time to think about my use case, because at the end I feel like I don't get into a vicious loop with these agents trying to fix things that I didn't want to get built in the first place. So I'm just going to start with that. The agent is going to start to think. What's happening under the hood is, your agents one-on-one with some secret sauce behind it. So now Copilot said, okay, great, this is what we're going to be creating. Once you give me specific SEO functions you need, we can plan out the work step by step. And like it actually gave some examples of like what we could do. But again, like I want to be in control. Like this is my project. Like I want to use the agent as a resource. I don't want to use it as a blocker to my process. So let's start. So for the first agent, we'll be passing a keyword, and we'll try to find some important information around it. We're looking for some interesting stats or data insights that will make our overall article better and more useful. So let's actually say that, and let's see what it will do. So like right now I actually have like an idea of what I want to use, because like I'm a user of this platform and like I have already built a lot of these things, but let's try to see what it will come up with right now. So it will outline its plan. It's going to say, okay, input, accept a keyword from the user, research node, search for relevant statistics, trends, analysis node, process and summarize the most valuable findings, and then output. I actually don't want 2 different nodes because I feel like I have already thought about this, and like this is its own component and it's short enough. So I'm just going to say, actually, let's just go with one node that does this. How will that look like? So it's interesting that Copilot actually started to chat with me. And we're working with like introducing a new feature here where you can basically either chat or ask the agent to build for you. So now it's saying that it's checking the nodes. It's going to create a single prompt node. Okay, it actually seems like it has created the one. So let's see, it's a prompt node. If I want to check what it actually created, I would first look at the inputs here. It has created a keyword variable for me, so I'm just going to say prompt engineering. So that's the keyword that we're going to be creating an article for. Then once I go into the prompt node, I can see that it actually used the Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is a great choice because I know that Gemini has Google search integrated. I don't know if it actually turned on that feature on. So it did not. So like at this point, because like I know where things are, like it's so much easier for me to just like turn this on instead of, prompting the agent again to do that. And so it actually wrote the prompt for me. It gave a role to the model, which is like the number one thing that you want to do when you're writing prompts. And like people who are building with models know this. Let me know in the comments if, like all of your prompts are starting like this, where you're actually defining a role. And so it says, given a keyword, find and provide valuable statistics, data insights, and trends that would make an article about this topic more authoritative and engaging. Love that. It passed the keyword. Please provide key statistics, blah, blah, blah. Let's actually try to run this. Okay, so the prompt must contain at least one non-system message. So I'm just going to add a user message. within Vellum, you have an ability to control the different messages that a model can take. In the system message, you basically are describing the high-level instructions that you want to use across different iterations or conversations with your model. At the user level, you basically provide like the actual like user-specific um, ask. And some models like Gemini 2.5, they actually need like both system and a user message to actually execute um, on the request. And so we're gonna run that. And like what you're seeing here is just like for me to debug. That's not visible for you guys, but now we're waiting for this first node, Gemini 2.5, to execute. And I think right now is like searching the internet for those stats, and it's gonna retrieve some data around it. That's actually taking a bit time to. Okay, there we go. So it has retrieved some like interesting insights. This would be great to reference in the article, and then we can then continue to prompt this model to also include the references, the links, and all of those things. So this is great. So we have our first component. So yay, first component down. Great job, Vellum. So let's now continue to build the second step. And the second step is we're going to be building a Reddit agent that is going to be looking at latest Reddit posts around my topic. So I'm going to say, great, that works. Now we'd like to add another agent in our workflow that will take that keyword and will research posts around it within the, let's say, our AI agents subreddit. Look for interesting tips on how to prompt the latest models, for example, GPT-5. Okay, so interestingly, here I mentioned that we want to be looking at a subreddit, and I would love the agent builder to actually decide that I'm going to need an agent node and a tool that an LLM should call for me. And that tool should be my Reddit tool that I have already integrated. So it's checking whether we have available tools through Composio. And it says perfect. I can see that you have that. It has decided which tool it's going to use. Now it's checking the documentation to see how it can actually build that. And now it's actually building it and generating the new component. And so ideally, after this is done, what we should see is another node just below this one that does exactly what I told it to do. Okay, so it says that my SEO agent now has 2 nodes, and seems like the UI is updated. Let's see what it actually did. So for this one, it actually ended up using an agent node, which is basically a Vellum representation node of an LLM that can use tools or MCP tools under the hood. And for all of these tools, we actually integrate with Composio, or our tool provider. And you can see here that I have already enabled all of the tools that I'm actually using in this demo. And so by enabling this on my end, the agent has access to all of these tools within the authenticated platforms here, and it can decide what it can use in order to build something. And so for Reddit, it actually decided that it's going to use this, which will search for posts in the AI agent subreddit related to the given keyword. If I go edit keyword here, I can actually see the tool information here and what we can actually do, like what is the search query, like do I need to get maximum, minimum, and all of those things. And we provide a description here for the model to know how to use this on once it's executing. And so it's decided to go with GPT-4o. I love that. I love that model. It passed the keyword. It told the model that you're a research Reddit specialist focused on this subreddit. Your task is to search for posts related to the given keyword and find valuable insights. When searching, look for practical prompting tips and techniques. Okay, so please search for posts related to this keyword. So this is something that has been happening. I'm just gonna add the input there because I don't want to prompt the agent again, and then I'm gonna rerun this whole thing. We also support like run from node, but but you first need to run the workflows at least once. So let's see. It actually used the tool with this search query, which is great. And then it told it to sort by relevance and decided that the limit is five. And so we can see here that Reddit is actually returning some posts here. And then the final output is a list of interesting tips around prompt engineering that some users have actually found by using. And like, I would love to see if there are any mentions of GPT-5, which I don't think there are. But again, this is a good start. Like, the biggest challenge that I have is when I need to start working on a new prompt. Like, where do I start? What do I mention? How do I make sure that this will work? And like, this is really, really enabling that for me. Okay, so we have the second agent. Now let's proceed to the last one. I say great, the second agent works. Now let's proceed with the last one. In that one, we want to scrape the SERP. Is that how we call the search engine at Google? And retrieve SERP with to scrape the SERP and retrieve the top 5 ranking articles for our keyword. From there, I want to scrape the contents and analyze what kind of content types are ranking for my keyword and what is the gap or the opportunity for my article to actually rank for it. So I'm not gonna mention any specific tools. I'm gonna be hoping that it's gonna identify that we have a tool to search, to use Google search and retrieve the top 5 results, and we have a tool that can actually scrape the content from all of those links that are actually retrieved. So now it's saying, okay, we need, let's add a third agent. So the SERP analysis agent will search the SERP, get top 5 articles. It will extract the content and analyze. This will give you insights on, let me build this. Should I proceed? So now it's interesting that it's actually conversing with me. So I love that approach because I want to, I always want to see a plan before I actually start to build something. So I'm going to say, let's proceed with this plan. Another tip that I can give you is like, all this text that an agent is producing, like, it could be hard to follow, and we always want to say like, fix this or like, find this for me or whatever, without actually reading, because it feels like it's creating more work for us. But that's why I'm saying, like, even before you actually start to build things, like, outline what you want to build, and then it's going to be easier on you to work with the agent. So let's see, it's trying to get some tools. I didn't catch. Oh, okay. So it said that it had identified these 2 tools, which is great. Those are the tools that I want to use. And now it's saying that it's editing the notes. And for some of the next iterations, I would actually like to merge these results into one. And I can honestly just like delete this one and connect the 2. But again, we're here to test vibe coding. Okay, we have the last piece of the puzzle. So let's see. The SERP agent uses SERP API search. This one is going to search Google for top ranking articles. And this one is going to scrape the content from those articles. It uses GPT-4o, and the content is basically telling it to do those same exact things, and then it has structured the prompt to know like what you should be focusing on. Then it says, please analyze the SERP competitor for this keyword. Now I can actually mention my keyword. And then it decided to repeat the thing from above, which is fine, for the purpose of this demo. Let's just run this and see what we're going to get. And then after this runs, we can actually proceed to create the article. So it seems like the assistant has decided to first use the SERP API search. It received 5 articles from Amazon, from OpenAI, from Wikipedia, from Google. And now Firecrawl is scraping each of those one by one. And you can see that it's actually retrieving that context here. And what is really interesting within Vellum is, like, for this agent, you can analyze the chat history of the agent, of how it actually produced the output. And we're actually working on an interesting new like debugging capability, where you're going to be able to debug right here on top of building with the agent. So you're going to be able to understand like what happened at each step more visually into the builder, so that it's accessible for you. Okay, so we got to the analysis. Great. Now I'm gonna do something that is interesting for me because like obviously I tried to build this SEO agent yesterday and like that approach got me one output where all of this were merging. So we're gonna say, great, we have our three research agents, or I'm not gonna be specific, I don't want to confuse it. So great, this all works. People laugh that I chat with models like this, but it's my flow and it works. So now let's create a node that takes the outputs from these three agents and generates an article for the given keyword. Okay, so now ideally what it should do, it should compress all these three outputs into an article component that it's actually going to use LLM to create the article, and then it's going to only serve as one final output node. So let's see. Let's add a content generation node that combines insights from all three agents to create a comprehensive article. Okay, it's trying to edit nodes. It's trying to check the current file structure. There's a logic issue. Apparently it's facing a specific thing. Okay, apparently it solved it. Let's see if it actually did. Okay, so this was one thing that I did not want to see. So let's see what it actually created. Okay, so it has left the final output nodes for each of these. So, it's still fine. It's still great. I'm just gonna delete these guys so that we can proceed with our work here. And I can save you a bit of time of me chatting with the agent. But all three of these now connect into this article generator that uses Jupyter 4o. If we open the prompt, it takes successfully the keyword and all of those three outputs from the previous nodes. It wrote some prompt, like I would suggest you guys, if you're using this agent in the future, to just like, this is the first thing that the agent will give you. We're doing our best to make this as optimized as it can, but like sometimes you need to, not sometimes, most times you need to test and change different parts of your prompt so that you actually get better results. And then it's passing those values successfully. And the one thing that I want to check is whether this node is going to wait for all these inputs before it executes. And I want to make sure that the agent actually got that part for me. So you see, like, the merge strategy is set for await any. We actually want to have all of the context we need before we actually create the article. So I'm just going to change this into await all. And then I'm going to run this. And then once we're done with this part, we're going to be creating our final Notion agent that will take the draft that is generated here and it will hopefully put it in like a page of my choice in my Notion directory. And so now this is executing. I think like this one takes a while until it gets done. And so let's just wait for that to finish. And once that's done, because this node is now waiting for each of these to finish, even though, these two basically ended at the 34-second mark, this one is still executing on it, and like it's the number one node that I would wait for before I actually create the article. One interesting thing that I would mention here is that you can build this sequentially. So right now, all these three agents were executing in parallel. For specific use cases, you actually want to do it sequentially. But like, because our workflow builder is built in a graph, I can easily control how my data flows through it. So that's why I was able to basically enable my merge strategy to be await all and not just continue to execute once some of these nodes were done. Okay, cool. So this one executed. The prompt node is being generated. This is fast. You might want to use like a reasoner model. It could be slower, but the article could be a bit better. I don't know. Understanding prompt engineering, a comprehensive guide to a transformative AI discipline. Okay, this is definitely a title that I would like to change and update. And like I would work on the structure and all of that, but like this is actually pretty cool. Like it's referencing like all of the subreddit stuff uh, in a very like straightforward approach, which we can update. But then hopefully it's also referencing, you see like some stats that it was able to capture and all of those things. There are some more stats here, which actually makes my article, even better. Okay, so finally let's go back to the agent and say, great, we have the article generator. Now we only need another agent that takes the draft from the article generator and pass it into my Notion within my marketing page. Again, it feels a bit vague, but because I already have those tools in the back, I feel like I'm in control and I know that the agent is going to do well. And I'm trying to be careful, but then also um, I'm not mentioning any specific like language related to Vellum workflows or anything specific to nudge the agent to do something. Although I would always recommend you do that, because like it actually works better. So let's see. It's now complete with a Notion integration. Okay, let's see. It actually said that it did it, but I don't see it. So I'm just gonna say, hey, I don't see the Notion agent. Are you sure that it's built? This is so funny. But this is vibe coding, you all. This will happen more frequently than you think. Okay, now it's saying that I'm right. That's fine. And now it's trying to integrate my Notion tools. And now it's saying that it's actually creating it for me. So let's see how that goes. I want to check if it's actually using something here, which is not. Okay, let's see what this will actually output. I'm going to save some time to answer questions. But okay, interesting. It added a few more things that I didn't need. So let's see. We have the article output, and then we have the Notion agent. Okay, and then we have a final output. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, for some reason, we nudge the agent to think that we should be creating final outputs for each of our nodes. And we can just delete that, come back to it, and try to understand like what happened in the Notion agent. It decided to use 3 different tools to do this, and that's actually the correct way, because in order to push something into Notion, you need to be able to do 3 things well. One is you need to search for the Notion page where you want to create this article in. Then you need to create a new page that will be called, I don't know, prompt engineering. And then you need to execute another tool that will add content in that page. And I know this because I have tried this tool. Like, you shouldn't expect it from yourself to actually know how to do this, but like you should try it and you should debug and see the errors and all that. And so I'm gonna check the prompt now. We're passing the article and the keyword, which is great. In the Notion workspace, please save this SEO article to my Notion marketing page. Keyword, this is the keyword. Article content, this is the article content. Although like I don't need to pass the keyword here, still it might want to use it as a title. Finally, from here, when I run this whole thing, I should be able to see that article pop up somewhere here. So let's run it and let's see if that's actually going to happen. One thing that I want to mention here is that within this agent nodes, you're able to define how many times can you enable your LLM model to run iterations with. And so I think for Notion, we might need more than 5 iterations. So this might not execute well, but for the next iteration, we can just like enlarge it to like 20. And this will mean that the LLM can actually take 20 turns in order to finish specific action. Those turns can be either writing content, searching something, using a tool, doing a specific action, but it has like 20 times of allowance to do all of that. And I know that for Notion specifically, Notion's tool of creating content onto a page, it basically does like multiple things. So it's going to be passing like multiple paragraphs one by one. And we might need like more things there. Okay, so it's going to search for my marketing page. I think it found it, and it should create the prompt engineering page. So if we go in, we have the page, and now it's starting to send all of these blocks there. Okay, seems like it's done. Here you go. All right, that worked pretty well. Time for questions.
Okay. Questions. We have two. Will the chat interface suggest composing integrations that you don't have enabled? Yes, Carolyn, that's a great question. We're gonna be making sure that all of the tools that you can use within the Vellum Agent Builder are accessible and surfaced at the right time as you start to use the Agent Builder. So right now in the workflow that I showed you, I basically have initialized all of the tools that I want to use, but that is going to be handled in a first class way within the workflow where everyone can basically be able to preview the tools that they can use and then select the ones that they want to enable. So yeah, that's the one. Okay, let's see. Can I specify a data structure for the output? Does Vellum support model of other modalities? For example, I want a hero image for my blog. I'm not sure about the output, but I know that we do support like different modalities in the input where you can pass an image. Ideally, we want this agent builder to take a diagram like the one that I showed you, where I actually sketched out my SEO agent. And ideally, I want to prompt the agent builder to create a workflow that maps that whole diagram for me. I don't think that, if a lot of people are asking for this, of course, we're going to build it. So it's definitely possible. Okay. Just out of curiosity, couldn't this have been ready to use templates and modify it as per the end user needs? It could be, right? Like this all depends on like different styles of like how do you want to build your workflows. For some workflows, and like that's why, like when I was showing the demo, that's why I said that it's so useful to me that I can chat with an agent to help me create my prompts, to help me define all of these tools that an LLM model can use. It's so helpful because I don't need to think about like dragging and dropping the right nodes. But then sometimes I actually want to do some of this work by myself. And it's the same with coding, right? Like if you're building any kind of workflows, you want to use AI to help you finish your function, but at the end of the day it's you who is scaffolding this whole thing. You're the brain behind this and you bring the context and the goals of what this actually needs to do. But that's a good question. Again, like it's based on like how do you want to approach this. Okay, another question. Can Vellum build an AI agent that will provide outgoing calls to find real estate leads? Of course. Again, like here's the thing, guys. Like with the agent builder, we can do anything as long as we put the context where it needs to be, as long as we have all of the guardrails, as long as we do a great job at context engineering. And like that's the part that makes this project very exciting for us, because we're building the next platform that will enable you to type things for which you're going to get like all of this AI workflows for any of your tasks. Like my hope is that you would never gonna be needing to integrate any data source manually, or that you would not need to build any of these workflows manually, right? Like if we can get this AI agent builder to actually execute stuff for you, like this example here, provide outgoing calls to find real estate leads, like should be doable with a matter of clicks. And again, like vibe coding is interesting because you're learning as you're going, and like you're learning how this specific agent behaves and what are their failure modes. And like for example, the demo that I showed today, obviously we hit some of those failure modes, but what I would hope that all of you here today, and again, like thank you for everyone sticking until the end here. Like if there's one message that I want to share across, is that just continue to build. Like vibe coding is a new skill that we all need to develop. Chances are that my prompts weren't that good. Chances are that the agent could have executed everything in one shot if I was able to provide all of the context that it needed. But like this is the process. This is how we learn how to prompt these agents. This is how we approach these problems, by not thinking that an agent will solve everything for us by taking some of that control and then mapping out all of these activities beforehand. And so I think Nick just pinned a sign up link here. And I think that he also pasted a link in the chat. If you want to get early access, please fill out this form. We're going to continue to build on this agent. And I hope that I gave you an interesting preview of what's to come. And I'm hoping that you too can all build these agents in just 30 minutes, hopefully without that many issues. But again, thank you for everyone who have joined, who have stayed until the end of this webinar. Let me know, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, Twitter, whenever, in our Slack, to let me know if this format was good, what we need to improve, what do we need to change. Any feedback that you have for me, please let me know. But I don't want to take more of your time. It's currently 5 p.m. So thanks again. And we're going to be wrapping up this webinar.